early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, but winners win. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture.
Well. Good day, everybody. Game Time Brian here, otherwise known as the Mailman. Yes, we are off for a week, a little over a week, heading to Big D on Wednesday for the big Eagle Cowboy game. Yes. The 3-5 Dallas Cowboys, a full 3 games behind the Eagles. Shout out to the Birds for getting the job done. Even though I don't think they're the best team in the division as of now, I think they could potentially be. That goes to the Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders are playing a nice schedule, and they're taking full advantage of it. That's all you could do in this league. My team, the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to do a short video just laying out the midseason. This is a midseason report card. Midseason report card. What would you give the Dallas Cowboys? They came in to this season very thin. You know, I'm seeing a lot in the comments where they like to say that we are giving that, you know, they have a lot, again, that they lost a lot, you know, of starters. Now, we didn't lose a lot of starters. If we're saying Dorrance Armstrong, okay, he was a rotational piece who's probably not going to live up to the contract, that Washington was in a position to have to spend money. They had to spend money to get to the salary cap floor. That's how much money they had to spend. Why? Because they've been a horrendous team over the last however long you want to say. So I don't have no hate in my heart for the Washington Commanders. I still have a weird time saying Commanders. We all know what their name, I don't know. They are the Commanders. We'll leave it at that. But no hate, man. We knew this was coming. The excitement, I didn't know it would be 7-2, obviously. I had Dallas at 4-4 at this point in my preseason prediction. So I'm a game behind where I thought we would be. We should have won the game yesterday. The stats tell you that. The coaching on this team is not good, and I know they would hate to hear that. And we're going to break down a couple of the issues, but again, I don't believe it's a one-player thing. The time has come to move on. I was okay with moving on after the season. After the loss to the Green Bay Packers, I was ready to move on from the coaching staff. You can only go, you have success, and people can scoff at this all they want, but when you win 12 games 3 years in a row, which name the last franchise to do that, I'm sure they are, don't get me wrong, but that's a lot of games. And to only have the limited play, I think we had, 2 playoff wins in that time period? That's not good. So when they were embarrassed at home in the playoffs against Green Bay, I just thought it was time to turn the page. I don't know how you come back from that, let alone come back with a whole lame duck philosophy as everybody's playing on their last year. That doesn't work. And I'm a mailman from South Jersey. I could tell you that doesn't work. Now, we're hearing rumblings that they knew that this was happening all along. They didn't want to come out and tell their fans that we're not going to go out and pick anybody up. We're going to sign a couple of our key guys, but then not really do anything going forward for at least a year or so to kind of reset the salary cap. And I was just watching 105.3 The Fan. I don't know what they're talking about. They have a lot of money under the cap going forward. They could flip some switches. I don't know that I would want to flip the Dak Prescott switch, because from what I saw yesterday, when he came out of the game, the offense improved. Now, I don't know why that is. I've been screaming for Dak Prescott to run the ball at times. Nobody's saying to be an RPO quarterback, but when it's open, that's a good way to help your offensive line And that's a good way to help your team when a team is playing you a certain way, dropping guys, getting there at 4. Sometimes the middle of the field is wide open. And lo and behold, the way he was tackled to the ground, he felt a little something. And then on the next series, on that throw to Jalen Brooks to the sideline where it looked like he got shot by a sniper rifle from the 400 level at well, they weren't at AT&T, but you get the point, that he felt a pop in his upper hamstring. Now, listen, I have one question, and I've been a Dak Prescott supporter. He's only 30 years old, right? Why are we paying $60 million to a guy who cannot run out of the pocket? We saw Kirk Cousins do it against the Eagles. Ugly, who's a lot older than Dak, coming off an Achilles injury. Why are we paying $60 million to a guy who obviously he looked like he could run? Is he not in shape? Was it the way he was tackled? He looks like he's in shape, so I don't think it's that, but it's very, very frustrating because now that's going to trigger him to sit back in the pocket again when that's precisely what you shouldn't do. You're going to have to run to help out your offensive line. You can't always have Pro Bowlers all across. You can't. I mean, that's just the way it is. You can't. Ask Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow went to a Super Bowl with a below-average offensive line. Yeah, they lost. But, I mean, you can do it. You got to be a little bit elusive. You got to, I don't know, very, very frustrating now that because he ran, like he hurt himself. But whatever, we're not going to rehash yesterday's game. They did lose 27-21 to the Atlanta Falcons. They were a better team than Atlanta Falcons. As banged up as Dallas was, they should have won the football game. Just go look at the numbers. Again, settling for field goals instead of touchdowns is a problem. But I'm going to share my screen here. And this is what we're going to do here. We're going to share the screen. We'll go with the bigger screen. This is how we started the season. Okay, we went on the road with a nice win when we had all of our players. Micah, D-Law. We didn't have Bland. Bland hasn't played one game yet. But we had everybody. Brandon Cooks, 33-17. We didn't score any points, or I think maybe a field goal. We didn't score anything. Maybe. I mean, like, it wasn't a lot of points, like, in the second half. We basically mailed it in at halftime. Still had enough to win the game. Got blown out at home by the Saints, 44-19. The Saints haven't won a game since that game. So you take that from what you will. We got blown out. The score of 28-25, that's when I started my post-game show literally in the third quarter because we were getting blown out so bad. Then they made it a close game in garbage time. Yeah, that's fine. You expected their offense to, get a jump start, right? We lost the game, but we found something in the second half. We're going to use that against the Giants. We went to New York. We won the game 20-15. Offense looked horrendous. Offense looked very bad. Still got the W. Then we go on the road. 3-1 Steelers team. Very good against the run. You can say whatever you want about that game. I understand it was Justin Fields. They ran the ball. Dallas Cowboys made a play to win at the end of the game, not overtime. At the end of the game to win 20-17. That's a good road win. It is. So you're looking at 3-2 there, and I'm saying to myself, okay, yeah, before the Lions game, we got to find a way. Now, I had the Lions as a loss, but we got to find a way to win one of these next couple games. Well, we proceeded to lose home against the Lions, 47-9. It was an embarrassing loss. They ran, I think, 5 tackle-eligible plays. Not good. Rubbing it in. And we deserved it, really. At the 49ers, 30-24, that was the game that we should have won. Dak Prescott, in my opinion, did not do what he had to do in that game. Sorry, that game falls on the quarterback, the $60 million quarterback. You had opportunity to win that game. You were winning at halftime. You need to start scoring some points. And then yesterday, again, way too many opportunities. You won the turnover battle. You won the time of a possession battle. You won the yards battle. You won everything. The only thing you didn't win is the scoreboard and the penalties, which this team is a horribly coached football team right now, undisciplined. And Mike McCarthy, nothing against the man. He's won a Super Bowl at AT&T. We've literally lost our last, I know at least our last 4 in home games. We went, I think, 19 straight games without losing at AT&T. Now we are getting embarrassed. So we'll see. I'll be at the game this Sunday coming up, 4:25. Me and my partner, Primetime Phil, Mark Holmes, and a cast of characters. We're going to have fun regardless. We may have bags over our heads. It's very possible. But, again, I thought it was a bad display. We have a lot of pieces on. We have a nice amount of pieces on this team moving forward. Young pieces. We're going real young. They rolled the dice with Guyton and Cooper Beebe. Cooper Beebe's working out fine. Is he perfect? No. He has a lot to learn from and improve upon, but he's in the upper echelon in pass blocking already. They need to get their combination blocks in order. That leads me to believe there's a guy. Again, nothing personal. I have nothing against Brian Schottenheimer. I actually think Brian Schottenheimer should be calling the plays. Mike McCarthy is not going to give up that, knowing that this is probably his last year. He's going to go out on his own sword. This is why you don't allow a coaching staff to be lame ducks, because what should happen is now, I thought it was a good called game yesterday, but you tell me. Whose fault is it when we have penalties? Like we have all these false starts, illegal shifts, offsides, jumping. I mean, that's coaching, right? I've been very critical of this next guy. He literally was on the coaching staff when Tom Landry had the team. This offensive line coach, I'm not a fan of. Mike Solari, I think his time has come and gone. Sorry, Mike. Nothing, no offense, but Tyler Guyton is actually not playing bad. He just has I think he leads the league in penalties with 8 or 9 now through 8 games. So he's good for a penalty a game. You say, that's not horrible. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. He's just, his timing's off. He's not using his hands properly. He's trying to catch up. It looks ugly at times. And then on the other side, we've seen Terrence Steele be dominant prior to the ACL. Mike Solari, he's not doing something. They're not communicating. I think we need a change, not this year. I think a change in the whole coaching staff, everybody. And everybody goes, well, I love Al Harris. I love Al Harris too. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep Al Harris. Whatever coach we get, maybe you can. But, and that's for another show. That's honestly for another show as far as what coaches, I'm on record as, okay, Ben Johnson, if you're going to go offensive coach, go get the offensive coordinator for most likely the Super Bowl winning Detroit Lions, the way they're playing today. We'll see how they're playing in the playoffs and how healthy they can remain. Supposedly they're getting ready to make some trades. So, Ben Johnson would be the offensive guy that I would want. And defense, you got Mike Vrabel, you got Bill Belichick. To me, that's it. With the Rooney Rule, you're going to have to hire a minority candidate. Why not hire Al Harris? Get him some experience as a head coach. Now, I love it. I do love Al Harris, but you saw yesterday in the game that there was some miscommunication. Kalen Carson is lost right now. That doesn't mean he can't be good, but he's just playing off everything. And Darnell Mooney does lead the league in explosive plays, so I get it, but didn't look good. But you saw the breakdown where they were going 0, and they had trips at the top. I guess it would be trips, right? He got caught up like in the wash, and that can't happen. They have to have better communication. You just can't let a guy run down the field because of a scheme. If it was that easy, we should run trips every play to free up receivers. So that was bad. But Al Harris has never he's never been a defensive coordinator. So I think he needs to do that before he could be a head coach, in my opinion. But still, interview him, by all means. There's a lot of... I'm just curious. Put in the comments what you guys think. Should we go offense of mind or defensive coordinator? And, as far as a head coach, should we go with Vrabel and a Belichick and make a nasty defense and then, allow them to hire an offensive coordinator who is qualified and can work with Dak and a young quarterback, hopefully? Or do we go with the Ben Johnson, scheme it up, and then find the defensive coordinator to work with what they're doing? Curious to know I don't have any inside. I just know if I had to put money on it, they're going to bring Belichick, Vrabel. They're going to try and keep, and they should try and keep Micah Parsons, people. He is elite. They just got to, I think he's better in a 3-4. They just need to find what they need to do. But I just want to I actually think Jeff Ganina, who was a defensive line coach that we brought in this year, I actually thought he's doing a good job. For what he has to work with, I think Jeff is done well with Greg Ellis. I think they're doing fine. Mike Zimmer, I think he was dealt a bad hand. I think Mike's doing about as much as he could do. I mean, it all falls on your quarterback and your offense. That's where I think is the problem. They haven't scored 30 points since week 1, people. 33-17. Then they scored 19 against the Saints, a 25 against the Ravens, a 20 against the Giants, a 20 against the Steelers, 9 against the Lions, and 24 against the 49ers, and 21 against the Falcons. If you told me you were going to hold the Falcons to 27 points, I thought you would win the game. That's the problem, people. But going over our next, excuse me, going over, let me change my camera here. Going over our next, the rest of the season. We're at the midway point. We're 3-5. We have as many losses this year as if we had all of last year. Versus the Eagles, 6-2 team. Not good. Versus the Texans, first place Texans, I believe. At home. Not good. We haven't won a game at home. So now we have a second place team that's 6-2 that would be leading most divisions, and then a first place team, I believe, and then at a first place team in the Washington Commanders. So we basically play 3 stud teams in a row. So hypothetically, we could lose all 3. So if we lost all 3, now we're 3-8, right? Home against the Giants for Thanksgiving, okay. 4-8. Home against the Bengals, okay. 5-8. At the Panthers, 6-8. Okay. Home against the Bucks. Maybe we're getting our act together. 7-8. At the Eagles, probably means something for the Birds. That's a loss. 7-9. Home against the Commanders. They're probably playing for something. You're probably going to get swept by the Commanders. Probably, I predicted a 10 wins, I kind of think at that point you lose and you go 7-10. That's probably the floor is 7 wins at this point. I think you could win 9 at this point, maybe 10. I think 10 you'd have to win the next 2. And then the 10 now could come, So you look at anywhere from a 7-10 win, where 1 win, believe it or not, only 1 win, it feels worse. We'll see when these guys are going to come back. But you're looking at a season where, unless we get guys back and it turns 180 degrees, right? If it turns 180 degrees and we're playing fantastic, then we revert back to hey, just get in. Because you never know what could happen, which is true. Because look at the last few years. I understand that Kansas City has won, but they've also won as a wild card once. A lot of wild card teams can go far now. Only one team gets a bye. So it's kind of like, if you're not that team, what's the big deal? It's all about how you're playing. That's why I say Eagles still have a chance, obviously. I'm not trying to state the obvious, but Eagles have a chance. They're 6-2. They're a game behind Washington, and they play Washington twice. So we'll see. I think schedule has something to do with it, so I'm not going to break down their schedules right now. But where we sit, Dallas Cowboys are in a world of hurt, but just know that they have talent on the football team. I'm a little concerned about my quarterback, kind of frustrated that we re-signed him at this point. Not that we wouldn't have re-signed him, but you saw how the offense moved under Cooper Rush. I know people are saying, Cooper Rush. No, actually, just the way the ball's coming out of Cooper's hand, it was, you could see it with your own eyes. You don't need anybody to, play games. I mean, Cooper Rush is not a starting cornerback. We've seen him go in to play well. I think he's going to play the Eagles well, but it's all going to come down to who's coming back. Is CeeDee going to be available, which I think he will. I don't believe Dak will be back. I think Dak will miss the next few games. So that's unfortunate for Dak, but he's got his money. He set the market for the guys coming behind him, so you should be proud of yourself, Dak. But as far as the Cowboy fans, we're all like, okay, what are we doing here? You really are. I know. I have a couple subscribers, and we look at over the cap, but we know we can get out of that contract in a couple of years, but there's still going to be some dead money involved. I hope and I pray that if we get a top 5 draft pick this year, if it goes that bad, that we somehow trying to find a way to get a quarterback. I don't care about the contract. You have to take advantage. Dallas is never hardly ever in this position to be able to get a top flight quarterback. And you could have Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, whoever it is you like. I don't trust that they'll do that. Me and Wade Wade Walker. I don't know if that's his last name, but Wade Walker. Wade likes me and him both like Arch Manning, but Arch Manning's not coming out for a few years. So it kind of lines up good with Dak and Arch. But just the way they played this whole Trey Lance thing, where they gave up a 4th-round pick, and now Trey Lance is a free agent after the year. So what are you going to do? I would just keep Cooper Rush and let Trey Lance walk. I would desperately try to and trade Trey Lance before the deadline on Tuesday. Absolutely. Sorry, I would. And that means that Rush gets hurt, Dak's out, and you got to go find somebody. Well, then it's a crap season and good, at that point. Just remember, and this goes out to my Cowboy fans, I'm investing money to go see the Dallas Cowboys play because, you're stupid for doing it. Listen, I'm a lifelong Cowboy fan. We're going to go, we're going to have fun. We're going to bring our content to you guys as best as we can. We're going to meet some channel members. It's going to be fun. Some subscribers. It's going to be a lot of fun. So there's only going to be one real happy team at the end of the year, and that's the team that wins the Super Bowl. Everybody else, they turn the page literally the next day. They're on to the draft, which is really, unless you're a Chiefs fan these days, what are you really looking at? You're looking at hopefully get in the playoffs, have some exciting times. I always like to be relevant through the holidays. That's why I would like to beat the Eagles. I'm not ready for a top 5 pick. I know people are saying why. I'm like, I want to beat the Eagles, beat the Texans, go play the Commanders tough. You come home, beat the Giants, beat the Bengals, go beat the Panthers. That's, in my mind, is what I'm looking at. I want to be relevant, even if we're a spoiler towards the end. Well, we could be a spoiler, but that's kind of where I want to be. Make no mistake. This rivalry with the Eagles goes it goes back a long way. I've seen many a wins, many a losses in attendance at Eagles-Cowboys games. I miss the rivalry. I miss the time when all of us, the Giants, the Commanders, and the Eagles are all good together going into the final month of the season. I remember when Emmett went into the old Meadowlands Stadium with, hurt his shoulder really bad. Dallas went on to win that game. I was in college at the time. I was listening on a Sony Walkman radio in the back of an old station wagon heading up to Vermont on a ski trip, and that's all I remember. I couldn't wait to get there to see the highlights, but I was listening to Emmett. It was just brings back great memories. I miss the old NFC East where everybody's good. At least we have it with a couple of the teams, so we'll be able to watch them go at it. I'm looking forward to the Commanders versus the Eagles, but I'm not giving up. This Sunday, 325 in Big D, I'll be there. We're going to be having a blast. So with that being said, let me know what your final score prediction is. Let me know what you want to do with the head coach. What direction? Offensive coach, defensive coach. I'm very curious to see what you guys, what direction you want to go. I know I don't necessarily align with a lot of the people. I actually want a defensive coach. That's weird, and I want to get a young offensive mind to run the offense. But let me know what you think. With that being said, I don't care what anybody says. We got this coming around soon. The draft is coming, people, and that's where we love. So always, we are always late. I'll talk to everybody later.